What's up, guys? It's your favorite international man of mystery with a can't forget punum, Bad Wolf. And I want to thank some of you great people out there in my comment section. Not the trolls, not the haters from other YouTube channels, not the armchair lawyers, liars in the crowds, and not the government cabal, elite board member AI, system generated, three-letter agency, clandestine individuals working within the good American government and the good FBI people and et cetera, and OIS and OSS and see, you know what, you get it. Um, I think the person, especially today, who appreciated my work to the point of saying, I remember when you first got on YouTube and you held and stood your ground. You're still here. You never like super raised your prices and were price gouging people. Um, people don't have, there's no like major complaints and investigations and whatever else going on me like certain other ones out there. I've personally helped people who did use some people's trash processes and got arrested. We got some people free, some people that needed to be locked up, not from me, but were reported on. So there's active investigations on some of these people who are the real sovereign citizens, not like us here who are nationals. And we, the people, are not asking. We're taking back our rights and our freedoms and our liberties. But for those people out there who want to usurp the government, bad boy, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? See, we've always held a line of integrity as a Boy Scout, an Eagle Scout, a leader of different fraternities, somebody who's been active and won some awards and, for certain parties back when I was involved in that kind of stuff. Um, and some people may be shocked to hear that, yes, I've actually done some indirect work for the FBI and some other agencies. I've reported some things that were criminal activities. And here's the thing, we're not okay with the people out there abusing this information. But you bet your ass by the name of God, we have the right to use the right information the right way. And so shall we. And so say we all. So thank you to those people out there in law enforcement who are doing their jobs and leaving us people, though I know you guys like watching me, alone to do what we're supposed to do as the beneficiaries, as nationals, as your boss from the private side. We appreciate you. With that being said, let's get into the video. Now to talk about it, don't forget to hit that bell, like, subscribe. If you guys don't see my videos popping up at least twice a week, that means I'm being possibly shadow banned or whatever else they have in store for limiting my information, even though they know it's right. Which means go to my YouTube channel and click on some of the new videos there to update me in your algorithm. Thank you in advance. If you see anybody using any of my materials, images, likeness, and names, etc., please report them for bullying, slandering, defamation of character, and etc. Thank you in advance. For those people who want more of me, you can check me out on blacksite32.com, jamesclovett.com. And people have asked, yes, my sites are up. Sometimes the system goes down, sometimes they play around, but try typing it in, refresh your browser, clear your cache, and type in www.blacksite32.com or https colon forward slash www.blacksite32 or jamesclovett.com in the same fashion. Sometimes this works a little funny. Not sure what that's about. But anyway, also, new pages on Facebook. People have been asking me to get a Facebook, so I finally got one. All right. Um, Black Site, no, excuse me, the Bad Wolf Unrestricted, the Bad Wolf Unincorporated. Don't fall for the other ones out there. Those aren't mine. Don't be sending them any pictures of your behind. Send those right to James C. Lovett. Yeah, never mind. Um, but Those aren't me. So don't send your numbers, money, anything. All my stuff is done legitimately through BlackSite32 or jamesclovett.com. That's it. Don't give them any of your information. And if you think you've been scammed, which people have said, hey, I sent you something, it wasn't me, report them for pretending to be me, not me, because I haven't done anything. Now, on with the show. So in this particular video, we're talking about, shall we call it the lack of the law, or shall we call it using the reverse of the law, or shall we call it misapplying the law? Let's start off with misapplying, and then we'll slide into the reverse of the law. So, a lot of times when people get pulled over, arrested, whatever else, remember, guys, that's against your due process. There was no warrant for your arrest. Using your vehicle with even if it's a fake or fictitious plate, which let's break that down too. What is a fake or fictitious plate? A fake or fictitious plate is one that looks like any state's exact plate. That's a fake or fictitious plate. If your vehicle is registered still in your name and you put on a plate, that plate is fake and fictitious. See, my plate is an original and it's lawful. Why? Because I created my own government. You can create your own nation, your own tribe, your own UA or unincorporated association, your own faith-based entity. Draft up all the proper paperwork, get the vehicle transferred into the name. This is just a quick version. Watch all the right to travel videos before doing anything. And then I created plates to match the name that my vehicles are registered to. And because I did get an EIN for mine, my government is also registered with the government. Makes me equivalent. Do you have to get an EIN? No. But if you go and get it directly from the government for your entity, guess what? Your entity is then registered with them. Your vehicles are registered with your entity, and your plates are the same. So that's joinder. You are good by law. And if you're pulled over, it makes it even better, even sweeter for a lawsuit because you did everything legit. But if your vehicle is still in their system underneath your name, you failed. So what happens is should some cop find your old information, which is fraudulent, identity theft, outdated, or it's been canceled, that won't hold up in court, meaning they can't use that information if you've closed your account, especially. If you inform them, if you have a driver's license, that you're in private capacity and your vehicle's in fact in private capacity, by law, they can't touch you either. Should you have your vehicle with private plates and then you have your driver's license? You can. You can. You absolutely can. Because see, that means then that your vehicle is the non-resident and it owns the vehicle. Your entity is owned by your non-resident. If you have a driver's license on you or you're using it on your person, and it's okay to have it because at the end of the day, if you need to, get insurance or you need to rent a car, you need that ID for that. Even though we've had some car company renters, their owners, watch my videos and say, I would absolutely rent to somebody if they told me that they were a national. Now that I know what it is, thank you for bringing me this information, Mr. Lovett. So you then still can be ticketed, but your car by law cannot be towed. It's considered international and private property. They don't have the jurisdiction to do that. That would be ultra vires, where they're overextending their jurisdictional powers. Some cops don't know that, and that's okay. I know their legal departments watch my shit sometimes. So guess what? If the cop doesn't know, that doesn't excuse him from the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So he can be sued. You can make a claim on his bonds. You can go after him on the public side and on the private side as person to person. He still did the damage. See, they're supposed to have, see, having, even having a fake plate, let's just say you made a fake plate. That's not a criminal. That's not a crime. It's an infraction. And if you did it without knowing, because maybe you're a little loopy in the head, they can't prove mens rea, which means that you had an illicit thought to do something that would be considered criminal. These are the critical points you need to argue when dealing with your cases. And there's more of this information on jamesclovett.com. Go watch and download the court case videos. There's also some free videos on there right now. Take advantage because they rotate. That which is free today might be full price tomorrow. And there's some low cost ones on there because people complain. They're like, oh, we don't have, even though they're already pretty low for what you're getting. I mean, there's literally people right now who buy my files, buy my materials, watch my videos, and then they go off and make and charge a whole lot more than what I do. Matter of fact, one lady just told me that they dropped 10 grand on their lawyer, and I gave them the same or better advice and information in a private consult for only a couple $100. So I know what my time and my materials are worth. Am I perfect? No, nobody is. So if you've done everything right and they still write tickets, you have to ask yourself, are they not misapplying the law? The judge, the courts, especially the lower ones, have a right to hear different materials from different jurisdictions, statutory, common law, some equity. They're really not supposed to entertain on the lower levels the constitutional law. That's supposed to be dealt with in federal court or Supreme Court. So when they bring you in, they're assuming that what you were doing was being in commerce. Now, it doesn't matter whether the judge or the police officer knows this or not, but everything they're doing is commercial law, like corporate statutes. It's not the real law. The Constitution for the United States of America is the real law. But much like a monopoly game, if you're plugged in, then you're a member of theirs, and their laws and codes apply to you. The federal court and Supreme Court have already ruled that they will not assist you or help you if you are enjoying the benefit of driving. So if you're trying to drive and you're trying to say, "Oh, I didn't, but I don't like the ticket or whatever," no, sorry, you're enjoying the benefit. But the federal court and Supreme Court and the FBI and everybody else are supposed to back you, including the district attorney and attorney general and the chief judge of the county in which the event happens, are all supposed to be on your side if you are reserving your rights under the Constitution. So what generally happens is the judge, a lot of them are crooked, not all. They don't want your matter to be looked at as a common law right or a constitutional right or a private right. So when you walk in there, the cop has already forced joinder, which is a federal offense. Because if you've done everything right, he's taking either old, outdated, or expired information. You can't do that, number one. You can't take that information and apply it. Your information, your driver's license and record could be intact and perfect. If he takes that information and your vehicle and everything and the ID you use, which doesn't have to have your legal name on it, my private ID that I have, which comes from my government, has a private, separate, different name on it because I'm not in public capacity. I'm not doing something legal. I'm existing lawfully in my own private contract, operating as an agent for that entity, just like the police officer is operating as an agent for his municipality. And then he is so then protected. That's how I move. For those people who ask me if there's been any updates or how I'm moving, it just made sense. If they can be an actor for their things, I'm an actor for Levitica National Government. Everything that they do, guys, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just doing our private version of it. That's what they did. They took everything that we did in the private and made it a public version. So if we want to get out of things or have the same protections like them, then we need to move the way they are, but the private version of it, or hell, even the public version, you can do the same thing. So when you step into court, there's already been a number of violations that they've done to you. And most of you guys don't know, and you're not arguing all of these things. But the first thing you need to argue is jurisdiction, personal or persona jurisdiction. Do they have the right to control you and tell you what to do and administrate you? Are you over the age of 18? Are you competent? If you're not telling them all of these things, they get to assume that you're not competent and that they do have jurisdiction. You can challenge jurisdiction at any point in time in your matter. Sooner, the better. So, with that being said, the moment you step in there, okay, and there are some critical things that should be done before that. So, either do a consultation with me or watch my court case videos. So, you're there. One of the first things, and well, not the first thing, but in the first barrage of things that are going to be communicated from me is, Your Honor, this police officer forced joinder. He forced my name onto these things. I did not have a driver's license identification on me. Here's my private one. I was existing under the Constitution, private law. I have a right to contract with my own thing, doing, well, yeah, but you can't, your laws, your thing can't supersede the state. Yes, they can. Unless I'm operating and registered to the state, my private rights under the Constitution will not be infringed, will not be usurped. There's no damaged party. The states are offering a benefit and a privilege. And as so stated, and I don't remember the court case, anywhere where the state provides a privilege or a benefit and charges a fee, and you can do it without them, meaning individually, not as a corporation, not servicing lots of people, but privately, you have the right to ignore that fee and service and enjoy your right, liberty, or freedom with impunity. So now my thing is, well, Your Honor, are you not going to honor the Constitution and your oath of office to protect the American people? I do believe you took that oath. Your oath is on file and it's correct, right? Your full name on there, first, middle, and last, spelled out clearly to be read, legible. It is, right? Because if not, then you're not properly installed. Now, there's a ton of other things you can get them with. This is just one aspect. The next thing, even though, like I said, there's tons of things, I'm going to say, well, Your Honor, and then if that's the case, this court is operating under ultra vires because you guys are operating outside of your scope. You've pulled me in from a constitutional situation, an event in the private when I've done no damage. There's no damaged party. There's no damaged living person. There's no signed notarized complaint. And you're applying commercial statutes and codes to a private citizen who's not engaged in commerce. Is my vehicle registered to the state? No. Okay. So where do we have a nexus then? Is my name registered to you as a business in the state or a voter or anything? Do I have numerous police contacts? No. Okay, so you're assuming jurisdiction. Well, I challenge this court to prove it. Well, we have it. Your Honor, that's a form of hearsay. You can't just say you have something without proving it. I could say I'm a billionaire, and if this is a business deal, you're going to want me to prove my funds because that's the real world and it's not delusional. They're when done correctly with right to travel, they are then misapplying the law. So let's take a look and see what we can find on that. Hope everyone is doing well and healthy, staying healthy. Misapplication of the code of law, what it's called. When a court misapplies the code of law, meaning it interprets or implies statutes, rules, or legal principles incorrectly, this is generally referred to as an error of law. Definition: an error of law occurs when a trial court makes a mistake about what the law is or how it should be applied. This can include misreading or misinterpreting a statute, applying the wrong legal standard, misapplying precedent or case law, giving flawed jury instructions. Why does it matter? Because you're going to get the wrong legal outcome. It undermines fairness, creates a negative or dangerous precedent. In many jurisdictions, such errors are reversible, meaning an appeals court can reverse the decision or order a new trial. They do make mistakes, and sometimes they purposefully do it, but it's hard to prove they did it purposely. This also then leads me into the second part of this video where we talk about the reverse of the law. Now, what does that mean? Well, that's not a legal term, just kind of something I'm saying, but you'll get what I'm trying to say in a moment. And I'll look it up and see if we can find it. What is it then called, and how does one apply this ninja Jedi tactic that has helped me win so many court cases? As we know from the history of the DMV video and history of the driver's license video, that at one point in time there was no code, there was no DMV, there was no driver's license, but people had vehicles for years, years, and there was no law. It wasn't essentially lawless, but there was no standardized code. Some places didn't have anything for years and years after it. And then finally everybody got on board and they're like, oh, y'all making money? Y'all getting paid out there? Oh, hell no. Draft us some shit too. Yeah. Yeah. State of Rhode Island, state of Maryland, the for-profit entities, state of California, state of Florida. We want in on that too. So draft us up some of that. What do you guys call it? Commercial law for motor vehicles. Motor vehicles are not the same thing as an automobile? Wait a minute, what do you mean? An automobile is private, but if you register it or you have to register it, then it turns into a motor vehicle because then it's considered commercial. And that's why I can just get a driver's license and then I can jump into Uber because Uber says you need a commercial driver's license to service multiple people with these products and services because that's commercial and you're making money on the streets, so it's taxable. Huh. Oh, and the word traffic also means for profit. I just thought traffic meant cars going by. Oh, the real definition legally of traffic in the commercial sense means that I'm doing business along with other people doing business. But the AI told me that like they can regulate private persons. Oh, because private, though literally the word private persons means somebody on their side of the commercial line in public engaged in commerce. But if they're not engaged in commerce, they can still have the driver's license and use the vehicle for personal use legally while still being on the other side of the from the private to the public. I see. So, okay, so if that's the case, then when I asked Chat and I said, when and what law, what year did the state or the federal government create a law that then prohibited the right that we had? See, no one's going to stand up for our rights. Matter of fact, all of our rights are not even listed anywhere. The Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, and all the amendments, etc., they only reserve a fraction of our rights and powers, and mostly to hold the government itself and the states in check. We are damn near unlimited as long as we don't hurt anybody, do anything criminal, or deny somebody else their rights. People don't seem to know this. They don't have a concept of it. If it's not in the box, they don't know what to check. So if that's the case, then I could use the fact that any state I do right to travel in cannot, will not, but as close as they can have come to lose my freedoms and rights. Because if the people back in the early 1900s had the ability to use their automobiles privately, without a license plate, and use the roads, which are considered first level of public. There's two levels to the public. The first level means out where anybody and everybody can see you, which is a shared area, which can be used by the public person and the private person, foreign person, etc. alike. Public doesn't just mean everything out there is public and they own it and control it. Because the second part of the public is what they absolutely can control, which are their people, their property, and things registered to them by consent or by job function. So you mean to tell me that when I'm outside my house and I'm walking down the sidewalk that a police officer can't just bother me? No. If they do that, they're violating your rights, especially if you haven't done anything wrong. You can be in private capacity or diplomatic capacity or whatever else, religious capacity and private, whatever, all of it together, out in the public. You absolutely are a bubble. And actually, though, all of that used to be the private anyway, until they started to form their corporations over that area and land, and then they put out an invisible jurisdiction that you only plug into if you're one of them or you're doing something criminal or illegal or you're causing a public controversy or you're causing a controversy while in the public domain, and that gives them the legal right to intercede. That's what the law gives them. And we're the one who gave Congress that power that they then gave to those states and municipalities and law enforcement. So let's not forget who's really in charge here. The only people who are not in charge are belligerents and combatants, people who are problems, criminals, etc. They've waived or lost their rights by their actions. But we, the good people who are non-belligerents, not combatants, who aren't doing anything, have an absolute right per the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, and amendments to be left the hell alone. Period. Non-negotiable. Don't tread on me. So one of my arguments has always been is what law and when was it created that took away the right of the private citizen, since we had that as a right first? See, if the states would have created the automobile and issued at the same time the driver's license, then there would be no private aspects or ability for the use of a motor vehicle, because that's what it would be. It was created by them. This is why when you get like a 401k or you win the lottery, those are things that they created. Those are their products. That's their shit, bitch. That's their shit. You can't just use and do whatever you want to do with their shit. That shit is taxable. They created it. Now, of course, there's some ways you can possibly deal with that if you know what you're doing legally. But generally, that shit is taxable. That is their shit. Matter of fact, period. That's their shit. That's why the government doesn't step in and do anything for those things because they're like, that's their shit. They created that product. Anywhere where something is a product, a service that they created, they get to mastermind and pimp that shit. That's why the government does not get involved with your driver's license, does not get involved with your marriage license, because those are privileges created by the state and their subsidiaries. It's their shit. They took the sand out of hell, formed it into these things, and if you use their sand or their services of that sand or whatever, then you're in their shit. But they are in our shit. We own the streets, we own the roads. Those are ours. We paid for them as American people. These parks and everything else, these are ours. Hell, even that patrol car the cop is in is really ours, paid for by our money. Their checks come from our money, the profits. These courts are for profit, states are for profit. They're not just doing that for the kindness of their heart. They're getting your tax dollars and they're getting government money at times for different things in different places. And the government works for us too. Their money is our money. Literally, their money, all the money that they have is our money. It's not the government's money. The government doesn't have a job. They didn't go somewhere and work and make that money. That's our money. The Treasury is holding our money. It's one of the reasons why people have the ability to discharge and do other things. And but when we need certain bits of our money, then they offer them to you in the form of a track phone, government trackable tracing device. They give you the free cheese, the free internet, the CBD 19 stimulus money. It's all your money. It's all our money. That's why there is no secret trust account. It's the general public trust, and it's all of ours. It's shared. Some of y'all don't know what y'all talking about, using the wrong terminology, and you sound stupid, frankly. So one of the first things, again, out of my mouth, other than what I already just said, is when and what law, and there isn't one. I tell them I'm not waiving my rights. I bring my Constitution with me, the Constitution. I bring a Title IV American flag with me. I'm reserving my rights. This is a constitutional matter. Every third or fifth word is Constitution. And they don't like that because the Constitution cannot be heard in their courts. Why not? Why can the Constitution not be heard in there? Why do the judges get so mad when you bring up the Constitution? Because now you're explaining to them that you're living and you're reserving your rights. You're not waiving them. You're not a member of theirs. You were brought here through force where you had the legal right to be a belligerent and combatant, but you're trying to do things the administrative way. And now you're here against your will to handle this matter that they're going against, not you as the living person, they're attacking your straw man, your legal person, your juridical person, that term of art. Because corporations deal with corporations, associations and entities and corporations deal with the like. So let's ask the chat a couple of questions. It likes me and it doesn't like me. It's learning, but it doesn't like what it's learning. So see if we can ruffle his feathers a little bit more. Before you told me there is no law that was enacted that prohibited the age old, though still present, right to travel from the old days. So there is no law against it. There is no single federal statute that abolished or outlawed the general right to travel. Courts still recognize the constitutional right to move about, especially between states. But that right is always and has been subject to regulation and certain conditions, license, passport, criminal sentence. What the right to travel is today. Okay, but once again, so there's no federal. Okay. No, no, don't go on a tangent. The simple one word answer is no. There is no law against it to prohibit it. And this goes for the state as well. See, it'll try to downplay it by only looking at part of right to travel, just the interstate aspect of it. And here's the next thing. Even if there wasn't, the fact that it hasn't been so defined precisely, and even if they said there's still a constitutional right of freedom of movement, this can be challenged. You can say, well, I'm exercising my right of freedom of movement. They say, well, no, that only means from state to state. If that's all it means, then how come that's not what it says? Anywhere where a definition is vague, them applying a code against you is moot. It's void. It's vague. Void for vagueness. It's moot. So, in terms of how you frame this in your content, it is accurate to say that the right to travel, freedom of movement, is an old fundamental right that predates the current Constitution and is still recognized in modern doctrine, but it has been narrowed and heavily regulated rather than outright repealed. So, in other words, what they did was they said, well, we can't get rid of it, but we can encroach so deeply on it that it looks like it is essentially gone. That would be like me saying, all right, man, so your girlfriend's coming over, but she's my ex, and I get to take her out tonight if she's wearing a blue shirt, high heels, makeup, if she's driving her car, she has money. So like I'm putting limits on something I don't really have the limits to put on unless I own that person or that thing. So from normal outside viewing, if she's party to this and agrees, if he's party to this and agrees, well, then anytime she comes over by his house, I'm like, no, 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 no. I had her first. But then again, that's part of the game. If they go along with it, or they're stupid enough to believe it, or they're dumb enough to not challenge it, or they're dumb enough just to listen to that bullshit. So though they all look all big, bad, and scary, you have to understand we are still their boss. That doesn't mean you can walk around and just pointing fingers in their eyeball and tell them this is what you're going to do, because those are violations of the law themselves to touch somebody or do whatever. So all that they did is they created so many laws for their own people that if you can't distinguish the fact that you are in non-commercial private capacity, using their words, and that only their people and vehicles and properties and projects allocated to them or need to be registered to them or freely by you registered to them, can they control that? So once again, it's not really too thrilled about me, but I keep poking it in the eye. You're basically right about the core point. There is no valid federal or state law that outright abolishes or categorically prohibits the constitutional right to travel, freedom of movement. What exists are regulations on how you travel, not a law that says you may not travel. Okay. And then it goes into how the courts try to, whatever, block it and say this and that, whatever else. The narrow but important caveat where it gets messy is that the states and the feds can regulate the manner of travel. Okay. Now, to a degree, yes, because here's where their line, which is cut like a razor blade, then meets ours. They can only regulate what's theirs. Ultimately, we are considered to be beneficiaries of the trust. So we are considered to be slightly in their jurisdictional constraints, but we're not owned. So they can't force us to register our vehicles, but they can regulate how fast we use them for safety purposes. They can't tell us to get a driver's license, but if you want to do Uber, you have to get a license because that's commercial, business, for profit. Okay. So I could use this angle in court if they, by means of error of law, misapply codes to my event, say right to travel, but really say by law, I am foreign registration or non-resident registration, to use their words, and my registration is solid and I have committed no public uh, vehicle criminal event and correctly using the vehicle and abiding by all the rules of the road for safety. You can raise misapplication of the code as a defense, but you cannot realistically expect right to travel to override. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. If the state owns statutes say X about foreign non-resident, and I clearly meet X, then applying X non-resident offense to me is an error of law and violates due process of equal protection. That is a straight statutory construction and due process argument, not a sovereign citizen right to travel argument. Okay, so it's combining things here. It's trying to say sovereign citizen stuff is right to travel. It's not the same, but they lump it together to try to obfuscate your right over here by trying to dirty it up with this. But what it's saying here is the truth, and that's what I just told you guys. But what they're doing here is they're saying, look, we get what you're saying, but you have to speak our language and beat us at our own devil game. So even though what I said here is true, okay, oh, I guess I did use right to travel up here. Okay, but still yet. They're saying the better way to say it is like, hey, look, if I'm in court, I should say, well, Your Honor, if the state's own statutes say about foreign and non-resident registration, and I clearly meet those qualifications, then applying non-resident foreign registration offenses to me is an error of law and violates my due process equal protection. That's how they want you to say it. So you're saying the same thing, but you have to say it in the right way. Opinions and practitioner guidance are clear but blunt. There's no constitutional right to drive an unregistered vehicle, unlicensed vehicle on the public highways. Okay. So let's see here. Yeah, I don't need all that. Stop. How about this? Where is it? You are correct to say there is no enumerated law, constitutional, etc., that grants unregistered vehicle use, etc. However, you admitted there's no law against it. There's no law against the private use of a vehicle considered out of their jurisdiction legally. There is no law requiring a non-commercial vehicle to be registered. Also, I would use the Ninth Amendment for my rights in this. I need to push back here. What you stated is not how courts or most state codes treat motor vehicles. See, once again, it muddied it up by throwing in motor vehicles. So stop You're already wrong. You're already lying. Stop. You are using commercial terms, which means commercial activity, which can be regulated. I am speaking on the legal level of the law, not its face value interpretation. Right or wrong? They can regulate the roads for safety, but there are some who use the roads, say Fed or Gov officers, etc., who are not licensed drivers. You absolutely can invoke the Ninth Amendment and unenumerated liberty concepts in your broader theory, but courts are not using the Ninth to carve out a non-commercial. It doesn't matter what they're using. It says you absolutely can invoke it. So yeah, there you go. And yeah, it doesn't say anything specifically about it because it says I get to retain my rights. It doesn't say what you're saying either. But the rights of the people come first before the law. Do people fall for this? I bet there's some people out there who fall as soon as the chat says something. Oh, well, like no, I know what I yeah. You're right that the text of the Constitution doesn't say what I'm saying in so many words, and it does also not say what you're saying in so many words. The gap between those is exactly where the doctrine and case law steps in. Okay, but the law also states that if there's no law against it, okay, but the law is on my side if there is no written law against it. You can't prosecute in a way by then misapplying the law where none exists. Oh, no snappy answer? Come on. Oh, look, now it's looking for expertise on prosecutorial discretion. When it says discretion, that means what's the gray area? So it's digging deep. You see how hard it's working to try to beat me? This is beautiful right here. You're right about the core legality principle. If there's no law that makes a specific act a crime, the state cannot lawfully prosecute you for that fact. And that's the state. The state is not the government. The state is not an Article 4 court. They're not a federal court, which is the absolute true law. That idea is captured in nullum crime sine lege. No crime, no punishment without law, where the law is really on your side. On the legality and misapplication angle, you are on solid doctrine ground. You must state a point to the actual statute that was enforced at the time of your conduct. Okay, so if there is no law against right to travel, there isn't. There's no law. Then how are they prosecuting you? They call you a sovereign citizen, which is an oxymoron, not codified, and they misapply statutory commercial law to you. Boom. Gotcha, bitch. So now, of course, it's got to use the discretionary part. So look, everything I said is backed up by law, Supreme Court, Supreme U.S. courts. There is no law requiring non-commercial vehicles to be registered. There isn't. What the law states is that if it's a commercial vehicle like a police cruiser, it must be. If you are going to do Uber, then it must be. Okay, show me the exact law, fed or state level, verbatim, that says a private vehicle that is non-commercial must be registered, even if it will not be used for commercial activities. You ain't gonna find it. Okay, yeah, but once again, you're wrong because it says motor vehicle. Stop. Wrong. It says a motor vehicle, which by Fed law per the Cornell Law EDU, by definition states a motor vehicle is commercial and for profit, which is business or trade in the US. So once again, it's having trouble because it doesn't understand the legal level of this. And it says, oh, you're mixing a very narrow federal definition. This is specific. Yeah, like that's not what you're doing. Yeah. Oh, you clever little bitch. So it's trying to say that because just because the government says that a motor vehicle is for commerce and for profit doesn't mean that the states are. Okay, so stop. Okay, okay, mine. Okay. Then what are the state's definitions of the words drive, driver, motor vehicle? And I ask you, do they have jurisdiction over commerce in their geo area? Man, it's fighting hard. It's resisting. States can require, but it's not a law. For public safety. Okay, yeah, but this is for their own people, not private citizens. An officer must have a regulated vehicle, operation, commercial, motor vehicle commercial. Um, Okay, so it says, oh, it's a liar. Okay, we'll be right back to that one. I want to see if I can find where on oh man, I don't remember the code. I had it in one of my other videos. All right. Well, it was in one of my other, let's see, not used in for hire motor carrier. All right. Well, I can't find it here. So let's go back and see what it's saying. But in the one video, we proved that a motor carrier is still or a motor vehicle is still a commercial motor vehicle. It's just a different class of them. Okay, let's see what we got. Nope. Damn it. Okay, there we go. Two big clarifications. Black's Law Dictionary do not control state vehicle codes. No, but they use that. Look, at the end of the day, it's like this. So even if an older Black's Law dictionary defines driver as one employed in conducting coach, blah, 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 or its motor car, that does not override a state statute. Okay. So here's the thing. So it's playing all the way down to the letter of the law now. Okay, but here's the thing. If they don't specifically define the word as commercial, then it can be considered vague or moot for vagueness. Now, you aren't smart enough or are obfuscating the facts. The state does not own the people. No corporation can own people. That's slavery. It all has to be by consent. They can regulate a private citizen if their activity is a crime, etc. Or you choose consent to be a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen or resident of theirs. I don't know why it's moving so slow. The statute, oh my God, why it's going so slow? You can make that argument, but courts almost never accept it. Traffic regulation context, it's commercial. It just, it's commercial. Because once again, it's no person shall drive. These are commercial terms. All these words are in the commercial dictionary I have right here. Yeah, they do have to specify whether it's commercial or not. Absolutely. And if they don't, then we have to consider it to be commercial and public because they don't have the right over private citizens and their private property. The government doesn't have it unless you waive the right, and the states don't have it unless you voluntarily give it to them. Fuck you. A commercial law dictionary can be useful for some things, but it does not control what a state statute means in court. You are a liar. Are you stupid? A commercial law dictionary it says it in the word. It's a commercial law dictionary. So the words in there are dictating anywhere where there's commercial law. Do the lower courts judge over commercial law? And next, are the states under the UCC code? That's not even what I asked. Are the states under the UCC? No, the UCC is not a federal. Look at it lying. Hold on. Stop. Look, now it's just lying. Yes or no? One word answer only. I don't know where this thing is getting its information from then. There it is. Gotcha, bitch. You're a liar. Do the states operate under the UCC? Yes or no? I didn't ask anything about federal bullshit. Let me double check. I did not say anything about federal code. Look, nothing. It lies. You see this? I did not mention anything about federal code. Not in that question. Do the states operate under the UCC? Yes or no? So if the states operate under the UCC, then the states themselves are commercial because the UCC stands for the Uniform Commercial Code. You are a liar piece of shit. Is it not true that most of the business and I should have told it one word answer because now it's going to try to spew its bullshit and sway. It says no. Lower state courts are often general jurisdiction. That means kind of a little bit everything, but that's not true. Traffic court is commercial. Criminal court is criminal. Family is family law, but still falls under commercial codes. Contract is commercial. Probate in your estate, that is still yet more commercial than not. Traffic courts are commercial. Traffic cases are not criminal unless you do damage. You haven't hurt anybody. It's not a crime. It's not a capital punishment, not a capital crime. They treat it like that and they push it through sometimes, but that's not what it is. Are you biased in any way? Yes or no? One word answer only. There it is. So you're not getting fair information. Once again, I've proven this to you. It is biased. Now it tries to come up with, can an AI be completely objective in legal manner? How so it is. There you go. So just know that when you use your AI, it is biased. It reads the bias of the court cases where some judge has denied you of your rights but pushed it through. It's reading from that. It said it had access to the Supreme Court and the federal courts and their online database. That's what it said. So let's go back and take a look at this. Let's take a look. I want to ask some more questions. Do you have full direct access to the all federal court cases online and the Supreme Court? If so, detail the path and how you have free access. Fucking liar. Earlier it said it did. I knew it was lying. No, I don't have full direct access to every federal and Supreme Court case file the way a Pacer account or a law library stack does. And I do not log into any restricted government system. No shit. How access to case works in general for humans. Yeah, I know it works, so you're a liar. It doesn't have it. Again, told you it lies. It lies. It's a liar. It works for them. It's good for some things, but in some cases, it's a part of the control mechanism. And if you didn't know, everything that you ask it, you think is personal, they're selling that information to the highest bidder. I'll talk to you later.